Well, I've got some very strong coffee this morning, and so I am ready to weigh in on a number of subjects. So, first, let us talk about reparations. I am very much in favor of reparations. And one place I think we should start that is a little bit off topic, but I think we should start a museum of, we could call it a dark history museum. And that is the very dark history of how white folks have treated black folks. They were just talking about that some black lady was collecting dimes from other black folks to start some pension plan for black folks. And the federal government accused her of fraud because she was, according to the government, she was collecting money to petition the government to provide pensions for black folks when she knew damn well the government was never going to do that. So that was fraud. And they put her in prison for a year. All right, so we need a museum of our dark history. On the subject of reparations after the Civil War, here's these folks have been intentionally kept illiterate, and they got absolutely nothing, and they're just turned out on the roadways with nothing, and promised 40 acres and a mule. Well, they never got it. They were promised equality, and they ran for the state legislatures. I'm not sure they might even have made it to the federal level elected offices, and then as part of a deal to get the Southerners back into the Union, the rug was pulled out from under the black folks. Fuck them, so I'm absolutely in favor of reparations, but there's the problem of, yes, let's repair, but the current status of citizenship in the United States is worth something. So how do you deduct for whatever that's worth? Well, one way to calculate what that's worth is to say that any foreigner who has some money can make contact with any black person, descendant of enslaved people here in the U.S., and buy their citizenship. So then the descendant of enslaved people takes the money and goes anywhere in the world. Now, if they're elderly, that may not seem very fair. So if they are receiving Social Security or SSI, they get to keep that. We'll keep paying that, but they can take their $1 million of what some Chinese person was willing to buy their citizenship, take their $1 million and go to Liberia or Guatemala or Argentina, or I'd go to Phuket, Thailand myself. So that is what I see as a possible first step in reparations. All right. The second thing I want to weigh in on is that some jackass in Congress was complaining about President Biden trying to provide free college, as, the government getting involved, cradle to grave. Government involvement, cradle to grave. Well, Jesus Christ, the federal government subsidized the railroads all across the United States. They subsidized the growing of sugar, which has ruined the Everglades and ruined everybody's health. They've subsidized mining, subsidized farming. There's almost nothing that the federal government oil, a lot of subsidization of oil. in the United States. The biggest investment in oil has been sending our boys to protect those goddamn Arabs. All right. So, given that we've been very involved in all the pursuits of what rich people like, sugar and oil and railroads, I can't see what is the difference of investing in human assets. Let's develop some human assets. Now, I promised you that I was going to weigh in on a number of subjects this morning. I'll just pull another one out of my hat. Why, regarding the Second Amendment and the well-regulated militia, number one, why can't we just say that you are absolutely, totally free to own any kind of firearm that was manufactured in the manner that firearms were manufactured in, 1790, 1792? At the ratification of the Second Amendment, whatever firearm was defined as in that day and age, you're absolutely entitled to unrestricted ownership of as many of them as you want. But any other kind of firearm can be regulated by the individual states. Then the other thing is that it's supposed to be a well-regulated militia. Well, then every state should empower the state militia. And if you wish to own a long arm, we can exclude pistols. Maybe just exclude 6-shooters, revolvers, not these semi-automatic things. Anyway, but if you want to own any kind of fancy weapon, you have to come to militia practice. If you don't come to militia practice and do close order drill and learn how to take care of your weapon and get psychologically evaluated, if you won't come, we take your weapons away from you, because God damn it, it's going to be a well-regulated militia. All right, I have yet another topic to weigh in on this morning, and I'm only up to 8 minutes. Here's the deal. Listen to a podcast called Dr. Death, and Lord, they found this neurosurgeon that apparently he actually thought he was doing something good, but he was a complete butcher. He left his best friend dead from the neck down. It's sort of like he cut the man's head off. And so this man is now a quadriplegic the rest of his life. And there were so many other people that this doctor just totally butchered. And so he's been sent to prison, I think, for life. And then another doctor was running this giant cancer clinic. And so he was pumping people full of chemotherapy when they didn't have cancer. Or if they did have cancer, it wasn't the right kind of chemotherapy, and it was a hell of a lot more than they needed. He just was making a lot of money. Okay, and I could tell you a scary story about a plastic surgeon that we knew who removed this lady's breasts and then left on vacation. And there were about 5 or 6 different aspects of malpractice in this guy's situation. And when she was all done coming over to Harborview for recovery, her chest was just scar tissue on top of bone. She was in sad shape. So here's the solution. I was part of a law partnership. My partners would not have allowed me to take on a class action lawsuit in federal court because they knew I couldn't do it. I wasn't experienced enough in it. And we took on one medical malpractice case where we asked some hotshot attorney from Spokane to come down. He came all the way from Spokane, a 3-hour drive, to come down and help us because we knew we couldn't do it. So lawyers who are partners, if one of them screws up, they're all liable. They all end up paying for it. So have doctors do the same thing. Just make it a requirement, or, okay, so it doesn't have to be a requirement, but it has to be publicized that you're a solo practitioner, which is not very attractive, or you are part of a partnership. If you're part of a partnership, then your partner doctors are aware of your level of expertise, and they then keep an eye on who you are taking on as patients and surgeries that you are proposing to perform. Your partner doctors, if you schedule a surgery, they're going to look over the needs of the patient and your skill level and decide should you be doing that surgery or not. So I'll tell you that I would much rather go to a doctor who had 3 or 4 partners than to a solo practitioner. There's a way to nip in the bud medical malpractice. Got to get back to my coffee. More ideas are likely to follow.